Hi, everybody. Welcome to our program. This was something to see. Some say it was the roast from hell.
It's people were somehow surprised that there was racial, sexual, feminist, anti-feminist, all kinds of over-the-top kind of stuff. Fires Roast, 89 years they've been doing this. Doesn't matter who you are there for your friends to tear to shreds, for the entertainment of you, and for the entertainment of the people who have been invited to this roast.
Oh, and Ted tore her to shreds. I guess he thought it was all in jest. Whoopi Goldberg and Ted Danson, as you know, have been trying to explain this thing for weeks. They explained it in that clip you saw from Screen Scene. That is a program on BET, Black Entertainment Television. They're trying to explain why and how it happened, who got hurt, their feelings about it. Never in the dark and stormy history of celebrity roasts, 89 years, has there been anything like last month's Friars Club bash honoring Whoopi Goldberg and featuring, of course, her boyfriend Ted Danson as the roast master. Now, as with all these traditionally stag and theoretically private affairs, this one was packed with crude and rude attempts at humor. But when Ted Danson opened the show by appearing in minstrel blackface and then went off on a tirade of race jokes about his lady love, about her anatomy and so forth, it did touch off an avalanche of angry comment and controversy. Now, was it racist, however unintentionally, or at the very least, was it inappropriate? Will this controversy affect the careers of Whoopi and Ted? Why are so many so upset? We're about to find out when we hear from our guests, including our first guest, the wonderful singer and actress who has a strong opinion on this particular topic. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Miss Melba Moore is here. Come on out, Melba. Melba Moore. Walking on by with her own heartfelt opinions on what happened, welcome the incredible Dionne Warwick, who joins us. Dionne Warwick. Also joining us, the controversial humorist who often delves into race matters, Mr. Paul Mooney. He's here. Like Dionne, Paul joins us via satellite from Los Angeles. The Police Academy's favorite funny man is also here to tell us his feelings on the roast. He was also there. Please welcome Bobcat Goldwhore. Bobcat, hey! Among the many other witnesses, Daily News columnist Linda Stacey is here. Linda is the person who broke the story about the firestorm which broke out as soon as that roast was over. Why do you think that story broke, Linda?
I have no idea. I guess it's because Montel Williams had such a violent reaction to it. And then the mayor, when I called the mayor of the city of New York, David Dinkins, also had a very strong reaction to it. And I suppose it was just a big shock to see on the cover of the Daily News a white man in blackface, and I just don't think people understood what that meant, where it came from. I think they thought it was like Al Jolson's tribute to black people, which it certainly wasn't. It has, you know, minstrel shows have a vile history.
We have lots of other people here to voice expert and personal opinions, including some interracial couples. But I'd like to begin really with Dionne Warwick. Let's go out to the West Coast. Dionne, whose latest album you should know is called Friends Can Be Lovers. She wrote that she was really angered that this thing had happened and how it happened. Dionne, why were you so angered?
I think, first of all, Geraldo, being a friar, it really threw me back to think that the friars, first of all, would allow photographs of a roast to be taken, that they would allow anyone to come in blackface, knowing the ramifications. It really was kind of very strange.
I'm a veteran also, excuse me, of several of these roasts, at least 3 or 4 of them. There is always race humor, though, but I've never, as you say, I've never seen a photograph ever taken of one of these theoretically private things. Do you think the race humor went too far?
You know, being the fact that I was not there, obviously I cannot, from a point of strength, respond to that. But I can say that from everything that I've read, it is from one point of view. I do feel, however, that when something of this nature is exposed in the fashion that it was exposed, you have to give equal opportunity to the roast that took place prior to Whoopi's. I mean, no one knows what went on with Roseanne Barr's roast, nor do they know what went on with Joan Rivers' roast. How in the world are we allowed the privilege of knowing what went on with Whoopi's roast? That is really what spurned the anger with me.
So would it have been okay if it were private? Ted Danson saying the things he said, wearing the blackface he wore? If it had been private?
Who would have known?
What about Paul Mooney? What about the appropriate or inappropriate nature of race humor? Do you think a double standard is being used? Now I know, my friend, you've been on our program, you've told some of your jokes, which include the N-word. Can I say, do you think that Ted Danson went overboard, or are people overreacting to this whole thing?
I think everyone's overreacting to it. I wasn't there, so I mean, I can only go by what I read and what I hear. I personally wasn't offended by it. I mean, I laughed very hard when I saw him in blackface. I thought to myself, what a cute couple. But
no, Dionne loves that one.
No, I wasn't offended by it because, I mean, I go by the First Amendment, and they were expressing themselves. They are a couple, and this was personal. And it's like, if you're going to be offended by blackface, see, they went in doing it as funny. It's like a person dressing up like a woman to be funny, and a person thinking they're a woman. I mean, one's serious, one is comedy. You have to make your choice. Montel went to a roast. Maybe he doesn't know what roasts are about. And it's a freedom with comedy, and it was private. And if you're going to get angry at Ted Danson for being in blackface, see, I was angry at Ted not for blackface. I was angry with his TV show because there weren't any black people on it.
Right.
Cheers. That's where my anger lies. It doesn't lie in his Halloween makeup. I mean, I can take that. So we have to go back from the beginning, and then we have to dislike Al Jolson, which America, you can go to the library, it says he was the greatest entertainer ever to live. And I think he was certifiable. I think he should have been put away with the nappy wig and the blackface and the knee and mammy. So there's a list of people who have done blackface, and I want to bring it out in all kinds of movies. Judy Garland did it, Bob Hope did it, Gene Wilder did it, Frank Sinatra did it. They all did blackface. There's a list of people. Brian Gumbel, and there's been several. There's been several.
Boy, you're crazy. You are mad.
Frank Gumbel's made enough at me for that National Enquirer show we did. The wonderful Melba Moore. What do you think, Melba? Were you hurt?
Well, I think that what Paul just brought out to us is that we have an infamous tradition of denigrating the African American, and I think that sometimes you have the freedom and the right to do anything, but very often what you choose to do in private, if it were to be exposed publicly, would reveal that you're not such a nice person. And everything can be done in good humor and everything. And I think it's an important question: why was this exposed outside of the realms of that environment? But also, I think we're in an environment now where we're saying, enough denigration, enough desecration. Let's have some taste. Let's not leave the bathroom door open when we invite guests over. Let's have some manners.
Do you think Whoopi erred in a substantive way, allowing, if it's true that she helped write those jokes, do you think she erred by going that race route, when really, when you consider the Ted Danson, Whoopi Goldberg couple and the tabloids over the last 6 months or so, there were a lot of things to make fun of. They could have made fun of Ted Danson leaving his family and children to go with Whoopi.
I think it's the environment, and I think that Whoopi and Ted are doing what is natural, and I don't think there's anything wrong with what they did. It's just that they're not sensitive anymore to the environment of our having just been piled up with all kinds of violence, with what do they call it, misogyny, soft porn. It's just too much now, that's all.
Okay, you know, I mentioned I was there on the dais. Sitting to my left was Montel Williams, my fine talk show colleague, who was very offended and sincerely offended. I saw it from virtually the first minute of Ted Danson's spew when he came out in blackface. Sitting on the other side of me was Roger Ebert of the Siskel and Ebert team, another fellow who was very, very offended by what was being said and done. Roger Ebert said something that was, I thought, very telling. He said, "Whoever would have thought that Bobcat Goldthwait could save this show?" Because that's what happened. He came on after Danson, and his humor kind of...
Yeah, that's surprising coming from Roger Ebert, seeing that I'm his Antichrist. What's scaring me is what I'm hearing is that people are saying today that if it hadn't been publicized, it would have been okay. Yeah, I mean, that's like, isn't that essentially a Klan rally? I mean, you know, I mean...
Isn't that essentially a Klan rally?
Dionne, you said I wasn't there, so I don't know what happened. Couldn't you ask psychic friends? They would have told you what happened. You know, I'm glad people know what happens at these things. I mean, then.
Were you upset when Howard Stern did it?
This
Were
is
you
Tara
upset?
Butler of
What
the
did
new
Howard Stern
filmmakers
do?
of New York.
Wait. Were you upset when Howard Stern did it? Were you upset when Ronald Reagan at that party with Ben Vereen went out there with blackface? I was outraged and nobody cared. Were you upset when Koch did it?
Wait,
At Dinkins' party, were you upset then? No, because it didn't fit any political agenda. First of all, if you attack Howard, Howard would come back at you and dig you out. But everybody wants to pick on Whoopi because they know. No, I'm just saying.
You're out of your mind. You're a complete wingnut.
I'm not. No. You didn't pick on Howard.
I was there to defend Whoopi. But you weren't there, so you don't even know.
But this is the point. I wasn't there, and that's why I don't know why this
So you
whole
should
thing
talk
has
more
started.
because you weren't there.
But I don't know why this has started.
Okay, Tara,
your
let's hear
cake
from...
and find out what
Okay.
happened.
Was the problem that the jokes were laying bombs?
The problem with the, well, whatever. My problem was that he bombed. He stunk up the room. I'm not going to suppress anyone's freedom of expression. I said on stage, I go, "Are you out of your mind, Ted? Did you honestly think in 1993 anyone was going to think this was effing funny?" And I wasn't like saying, I wasn't trying to suppress his freedom of speech.
But they do.
And what
Linda Stacey.
I'll defend your freedom of speech if you let anyone talk, man.
All right, let me go right to that first break. Why'd they do it? Who got hurt? Was it the roast from hell? The Ted Danson, Whoopi Goldberg roasting controversy is the focus of this edition of Heralding. We'll be back in a few. Dionne, Warwick, Paul Mooney, Melba Moore, Bobcat Goldthwait, others all with heartfelt opinions about the Whoopi Goldberg, Ted Danson controversy, of course, over the Friars Club roast. Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, I'm in agreement with Melba and others there on the platform. I think what Whoopi did is wrong. Her support for it is wrong simply because blackface is an insult to African Americans. It should be an insult to whites who are trying to make things better in America, and also the fact that it has a historical, social, political impact and the negative components that come out of it. Now, if we had a plurality operating in this society, no basic problems going on in regards to race, then some things we could tolerate more. But because of what has happened, and when Ben Vereen did what he did, no, I was not in support of that, and even others who do blackface, because it's a political, social, and historical component in this country, and it makes a bad image that exists.
Right, let me get a comment from Paul Mooney in Los Angeles. Paul, what do you think?
Huh?
What do you think about that?
Well, they keep bringing up Ben Vereen, and I think it was like, you know, it was like crazy and it was political. He did it in front of a president, and it was like weird. But I don't think that Ben did it in a negative version. I mean, I know Ben, you know, and so you know, I think he was paying homage to some great people who had to work in blackface. Blackface itself is a real interesting situation. You have to really know about it, because there were black people who had to put on blackface. White people weren't the only people putting on blackface. There were black performers who had to put blackface
Let's go to
on.
see Dolores Tucker of the National Political Congress of Black Women. Yes.
The National Political Congress of Black Women was organized to deal with just this issue, to make sure that African American people, and particularly black women, would not be dishonored. They would achieve parity and respect in this society. And so we already had a war on this type of derogatory, defamatory, and denigrating language, whether it's through the rap, through the roast, or through the rhyme. We're going to attack it. We've had enough of it. We have children to raise. We don't deserve it. No other group of women in this country have been so insulted, and we're not going to take it anymore. That is the issue.
However, I want to go back to Bobcat Goldwhore on this. I've been to 3 or 4 of these things, and if there's not a Jewish joke, then there's an Irish joke or an Italian joke.
But there weren't people in Holocaust outfits standing up there. Come on,
No,
that's
it's
the difference. If they came out in Nazi outfits,
Please, the Billy
and Holocaust
Crystal,
outfits.
the Billy Crystal roast, as Whoopi said, was one Jewish joke after another.
A Jewish
No, but
joke is
it's
one thing,
quite
but
different.
nobody was out there in a Holocaust
correct.
outfit making jokes.
Well, they were cracking
That's
the
correct.
Polak jokes. There wasn't like a chilling moment where it
Right.
fell silent and everyone went, "Oh my God, is there any Poles here?"
We don't mind
That's right.
the
Wait,
humor.
wait, Bobcat. I want you to finish that thought. Meaning what?
Well, it was the reason everyone got upset is for the basic reason you had a white guy with blackface. You know, I honestly do not believe Ted Danson is a hate monger. I do not think he was trying to do it. I think he was. It didn't work, but I honestly hope that what he was trying to do was to be so surreal, so that there was no way you could do anything. It obviously didn't work.
Why doesn't everybody get to the other issue is, if it's a roast, people are supposed to make jokes about you. You're not supposed to write your own material. I mean, excuse me, she wrote her own
But
jokes.
do you think Whoopi really wrote it, or
Yes,
she just
I
saying
do. I
that
don't
to
think
get
he was
Ted off
smart
the hook?
enough to come up with all that
Yeah,
stuff.
because
I don't.
Dr. Gwendolyn Goldsby Grant is here. She says that stereotypes just don't belong in humor. She writes an advice column, Essence Magazine. Why not? Isn't that what
I'm a
half
psychologist.
of it's
Now,
all
this
about?
issue is bigger than Whoopi or Ted. It has nothing to do with it. It has to do with the insidious racism in this country that puts forward the stereotype that helps people rationalize their prejudices and makes them feel comfortable with those prejudices. The reason black people don't make it is because they're lazy. Now, nobody goes to another continent to get a group of lazy people to pick cotton, okay? So this, but we need the rationalization to make us feel comfortable, and we do it all the time. What we really need to begin to do is to begin to have the media present those positive aspects of all racial types, but they don't do that.
Let's hear again from Whoopi and Ted,
they don't
and then
do
we'll
that.
comment
That's
on
not
what they have to say. Let's roll that from screen
I picked
scene.
jokes and racial jokes and sexual jokes that were so over the top that there would be no way I thought that anyone could construe this as serious. You know, it was like a bad joke on a bad joke, and so far that you could not help but go, you had to be overloaded.
I must say the media has truly mishandled. I mean, I've been talking to these people who write these opinion pages across the country. And my first question after how you doing is, I don't remember meeting you at the roast. Were you there? Okay. And most of the answers are no. And I said, so what are you basing this on? So what we've read in the paper. And I said, but don't you understand that what you read in the paper, without checking with us and without defining clearly what the parameters of the Friars Club are, you have effectively said that this man walked into the room with his face painted black, with a sneer on his face, pointed at me and called me a nigger.
I definitely, I've known Whoopi for 10 years, and she's a great lady, and she's been involved in more progressive social causes, I mean, including AIDS and homelessness, than virtually anyone in show business that I know. And I think it's really the double tragedy here is that it's her that's involved. But Dionne, I wonder what your first emotion was. It anger? Was it hurt when you heard about what was said?
Oh, I think like everybody else, I was angered, incensed, reading lines that were completely degrading, jokes that were not jokes. There was no comedy as far as I was concerned with regards to degradation to African American women, specifically one that I happen to revere as intelligent, bright, brilliant, and very, as you said, progressive, and very actively involved with all political aspects of health care, of homelessness, of things that she's availed herself to. I happen to adore Whoopi. I think she is a person who thinks, a person who feels, and a person who states statements that are true. After sitting for 2 or 3 days, and then also after having almost a 3.5 hour conversation with Whoopi on the telephone with regards to this very issue. She put some thought into my head. She said, Dionne, this I didn't find offensive because this was a roast. These are things that we did talk about for a long period of time and felt that it was okay to do. I was assured by the friars that this was a private event. This was something that no one aside from the friar members and those invited guests would know anything about. And I felt secure in knowing that this would be all done in fun and jest, and people that adored me and thought of me as a person that they wanted to say rude things about affectionately. She says, but why was I exposed? Why, when Jewish people are roasted and no one comes in with a Hitler costume perpetuating Nazism or the Holocaust, so as was so poignantly brought out, why weren't these people exposed? Why was it me? And why was what we did so offensive, especially when no one else aside from those who were invited for this roast should have known about? I do not agree with the degradation of black women. I am a black woman. I'm a parent. I'm very much concerned about the violence that is perpetuated because of racism. I don't believe that Ted Danson is a racist. I could not believe that. I've met him. I know Whoopi. I know she would not associate herself with someone that had racism as a basis. But I do feel that we are now at a point where this sister has to be embraced by us, sisters and brothers of the African American race, people who now understand that this cannot continue to happen. We cannot continue to allow, as Dr. Tucker so very, very well pointed out, that we cannot allow the bashing. And that's exactly what occurred.
Let me ask Paul Mooney, who sits alongside you there in Los Angeles and who uses racial epithets and racial stereotypes in his humor and is very successful at it in strictly commercial terms, and also because I guess it makes people laugh. Hey, Paul, are you out of step now?
Am I out of step?
Yeah.
Look, I have rhythm. I don't think so. I think I'm in step. No, it all depends. It's a matter of taste and humor and funny. Look, you can offend anybody about anything. It's just, there's limits to things, but I'm just a very open person. I'm not, you have to say something really crazy to offend me. So I'm an American, and this is a melting pot, and we all have problems, and it's going to take a lot of hard work. And I'm sort of glad this whole thing happened because it causes people to think, and it takes things out of hiding and reveals them, and we can all discuss our feelings.
All right, good.
And
yes.
that's how I feel about it. I think discussing it works it out.
You know, Geraldo, just for a minute here. Whoopi said something to me as well, and we are, the political Congress, are in conversation with her. We will be taking meetings with her. We will be making a statement with regards to this with her. But she did say something that was really very, very important. She said, Dionne, I have, over the years, as all of us have, learned that sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. My mother taught me that the N-word would never affect me because it's something I could never be because of my background. She says, if you want to get my hair up on the back of my neck and get me fired up to an angry point, call me stupid, call me intelligent, call me illiterate, then we're going to fight. And the N-word is something that we have used over a period of time. I know we negated it when Richard Pryor, who literally was the perpetuator of that word, said emphatically, I now know how it is affecting and impacting my race.
Will Paul Mooney make that same pledge? Paul, you gonna make that same pledge?
Will I make that pledge? I can't.
You drop the N-word from your
I can't,
routine?
no. It's because when people start telling me to use it, I'm a rebel. When people start suggesting to me that I use it, I'll probably stop.
Got to take a break, then we'll hear from this esteemed panel. We also have 3 interracial couples sitting in our front row there, all of whom will give us their opinions about humor that hits them perhaps closer to home than it does to others.